Short and long-term causes of the Revolutionary War. First, the Sugar Act. First, the British needed money from the 7 Years' War because they were in debt, so they put taxes on sugars and molasses and other goods, but the colonists didn't like it, so the act was repealed. Next, the Stamp Act and the Stamp Act Congress. First, the British was still in debt from the 7 Years' War, so they put taxes on stamps and other legal documents. Then the Stamp Act Committee formed together to fight the Stamp Act. Then the colonists boycotted the Stamp Act. And finally, the British repealed it. Next, we have the Townshend Acts. First, the British was still in debt from the French and Indian War, so they put taxes on essential imports. The colonists boycotted this. Then the British released the Declaratory Acts, which meant that Parliament can tax the colonies. Next is the Boston Massacre. Colonists were taunting British soldiers by throwing oyster shells and snowballs. Preston fires out of self-defense, but it was seen as an unnecessary attack on the colonists. 5 people died and 6 people were injured. John Adams defends Preston in trial and wins. Then the Committees of Correspondence was created, which helped increase communication between the colonies. Next is the Boston Tea Party. The British East India Company sold British tea, but colonists were buying tea from other countries due to the Townshend Acts. But the British passed the Tea Act, which lowered the tax on tea, which makes British tea cheaper than other countries. Colonists were angry about this, and they dumped tea in the harbor. As a result, they passed the Intolerable Acts. Next is the Tolerable Acts. This included the Quartering Act. They also closed the Boston Harbor until the Boston Tea Party was paid for, which caused people to lose jobs and no trade. And the Administration of Justice Act, which showed that trials had to be in England, not Massachusetts. And the Massachusetts Government Act, which meant that British choose who governs Massachusetts. In this case, Thomas Gage was the governor, and Boston was under a strong military presence. This led to a First Continental Congress, and the Committees of Correspondence met to discuss the Declaration of Colonial Rights. Finally, the battles of Lexington and Concord. The colonists were hiding weapons in Concord, and the British wanted to capture John Adams and Hancock in Lexington and also seize weapons in Concord. Colonists hear that Thomas Gage is going to try and get weapons in Concord, and Paul Revere lets out word that the British are coming. Colonial Minutemen meet British at Lexington. 8 colonists die. The British win at Lexington, and then they move into Concord, but colonists win in Concord. This resulted in the Second Continental Congress being met in 1775 in Philadelphia. Also, the Revolutionary government makes George Washington the commander of the colonial army, and the Revolutionary War begins.